Hello again. Welcome to another edition of KCS at Home, 6th grade social studies. Again, I'm Ms. Detheridge. I am a 6th grade social studies teacher at Vine Middle Magnet School. All right, so we're going to review what we went over last week. It was all about the unification of the Greek city-states and the spread of Greek culture. So let's take a look at the text that we had last week. This is the text that we covered. I went through and I printed this out, and here is me numbering my paragraphs and highlighting where I received my information from. Let's go over the answers that we should have came up with. Now, your answers do not have to be exact to mine, but they can be similar. Number 1, to define Macedonia, it is a kingdom located north of Greece. To define phalanx, it is a war strategy that allows soldiers to line in a formation with their shields and swords overlapping. To define Hellenistic, it is a mixture of Greek, Egyptian, Persian, and Syrian cultures. Number 2, it says using at least 2 key terms, explain in 3 to 5 sentences Philip's role in uniting Greece. I wrote, King Philip II conquered the Greek city-states, uniting them under Macedonia. He used and improved Greek ideas by arranging his army in a phalanx. The men in his phalanx had longer spears than the people they fought against. He also had a cavalry and archers in his army. Number 3, what were Philip's plans after conquering and unifying Greece? He had plans to conquer the Persian Empire. Number 4, when Philip died, to whom were his throne and plans passed? His son Alexander. Number 5, in 1 or 2 sentences, explain how Alexander maintained control over the Greeks. He ended a revolt in the Greek city-states of Thebes. He destroyed Thebes and enslaved his people, making an example out of them for the rest of the Greek city-states. Number 6, in 2 to 3 sentences, explain how Alexander became the ruler of what used to be the Persian Empire. Alexander and his army defeated the Persian army many times. One of the last Persian battles happened in Gaugamela. It was after this battle that the king of Persia was murdered, making Alexander ruler of the Persian Empire. Number 7, what was the impact of Alexander's conquest on the people and lands he conquered? List 3. The first one, Greek settlers moved to these lands, bringing their culture. The second one, Greek language became the common language in these lands. And the third one, Greek literature, art, science, temples, and theaters could be found in these lands. Number 8, culture diffusion can be described as a mixture or blending of different cultures. What evidence in the text suggests that there was a culture diffusion, and what is it called? I used citing my evidence, so I wrote, according to paragraph 12, it states that Alexander allowed the people he conquered to keep their culture. These were the cultures of the Egyptians, Persians, and Syrians. Due to this, in the settlement of Greek people, a new blended culture was created, and it was called Hellenistic. Number 9 was creative thinking. It says, a legend can be described as a story that have been passed down from generation to generation that many people in a society know but cannot prove to be true or untrue. There is a legend that Alexander cut the Gordian knot and could have controlled all of Asia. Unfortunately, his soldiers refused to go any further once they had crossed the Indus River. Alexander and his troops turned away from conquest to go home, only for Alexander to die at the young age of 32. Below, write your own legend of Alexander's life as if he and his soldiers had continued their conquest. This is what I came up with. Alexander and his troops were destined to conquer all of Asia. They continued their journey across India. They stopped along the Ganges River to pray to the Hindu gods Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Alexander and his men were determined to climb the Himalayan mountains. There they learned about Buddhism. As they continued on their conquest, they traveled between the Yellow and Yangtze rivers and marched right into the Warring States period. Alexander's army won all the battles. They then reached the shore and looked across the vast Pacific. Alexander yelled, "Build me a boat." All right, I hope that you enjoyed coming up with your own legend there. Let's analyze our timeline and our map. Question number 1. Which direction did Alexander and his army travel to get to Egypt? Now, I went into complete detail. You didn't have to. I wrote that he went east, south, east, south. then west. You could have simply said, oh, he had traveled southeast, or simply south. Okay? Number 2, list the battle sites. There are more than 4 battle sites. I only listed 4. You could have listed many of these. There's one here in Tatsila that I did not mention. Issus, Thebes, and a few more. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at number 3. Cities on the map are named after Alexander. I can only find 3. I hope that you were able to find more. I will let you know that he had at least 70 cities, if you didn't know that. One named after his horse. Number 4, use the map in your background knowledge to argue why Alexander is considered great. Now this is your argument. I'll share with you what I wrote down. Alexander conquered a large area in a very short time. Again, number 5 is all about your argument. Use the map in your background knowledge to argue why Alexander would not be considered great. He did not conquer all of Asia as he had set out to do. Okay, remember these were to build debating skills. Number 6, how many years was Philip II king of Macedonia and ruler of Greece? Hint, you need to subtract. Remember I told you this is a math question. So let's look. Philip II is crowned king of Macedonia in 359 BC. He was ruler until 336 BC when he was assassinated. You take 359 minus 336. That gives you 23. Number 7, approximately how long was the Hellenistic period? Your hint for this math question was to add. Here at 323 BC, this is when the Hellenistic period begins. Here in 30 AD, this is when the Hellenistic period ends. So you needed to add these 2 dates. 323 BC plus 30 AD, you end up with 353 years. All right, for your poster, I asked you to come up with your own reason as to whether Alexander should be considered one of the greats or not. You could have answered these if you chose to. This is what I came up with. For A, yes, because he conquered many lands and spread Greek culture. B, no, because he and his soldiers had only conquered the Persian Empire. All right, so using that, you were supposed to come up with a creative alternative title, 5 facts, 3 graphics, and your favorite quote, and hopefully a decorative border. This is what mine ended up looking like. I will share with you. Here is my title, Alexander ... the Great. And I have 3 illustrations. This is his shield, his sword, and his helmet. I also have a timeline, and I actually highlighted when he was ruling and when he could have been considered great. The quotes I wrote, Alexander's efforts to build an empire made him one of the greatest conquerors in history. These efforts earned him the name Alexander the Great, and I used the quotation marks. My 5 facts were, he was a ruler of Macedonia and Greece at the age of 20. He defeated the Persian army many times. He conquered the Persian Empire. He spread Greek culture, and he traveled to India from Macedonia on foot. Well, probably on his horse, but you get what I'm saying. All right, so your final task for today to try to bring all this information together is to write a short, very, very short essay, just 3 paragraphs. Okay, the first paragraph should be about the unification of Greece. In this paragraph, you might want to include Philip II and Alexander. This is their role. They participating in making sure that all of the Greek city-states were united under Macedon or Macedonia. Number 2, the spread of Greek culture, Alexander's influence and cultural diffusion. Okay, so remember his influence was that he influenced the Greek settlers to move to these lands. And the cultural diffusion had to do with where they were located, the Persian Empire, the Egyptians, the Syrians, along with the Greek culture, this all blended. And then number 3, how Greek culture is relevant today. In the literature we read, such as Aesop's fables, the Odyssey, the Iliad, and then in entertainment, goods and foods that we participate in. So entertainment can be like the Percy Jackson movies. Some of the goods could be like wearing Nike shoes or Nike hoodies. And the foods that we eat. I love Greek food. I want some Greek pizza right now. Oh, sorry. Let me get back focused. All right, so if you can develop 3 very short paragraphs for this essay, remember the structure of a paragraph is very simple. You have a topic sentence, your supporting details. Give examples of those, okay? Feel free to use your background knowledge, the text provided, along with the information from the map or the timeline to help you complete your essay. I hope you enjoy doing this task. Remember, contact us, your teachers. We miss you. We love you. We hope that you have a great summer, and we'll see you soon. Bye.